to the Chronicles, told by the Rofstad. Cases of the missing, murdered, and unsolved. I'd like to thank everyone for watching today, and don't forget to head over to the certifiedroracle.com where you'll find source information for today's episode. And be sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you never miss a case. Before we get started, I would like to thank Twisted Gorilla for partnering with me. If you love funny, sarcastic t-shirts and accessories, head over to twistedgorilla.com, where a portion of every sale goes to the Diane Fossey International Gorilla Fund. Use code THERORACLE at checkout for 15% off. Once again, that's code THERORACLE at checkout for 15% off. A link will be in the description box below. Let's get started with Chronicle number 21, the Carol Rothstadt case. The year was 1975. Watergate salad was the bee's knees. Getting dressed in your favorite tie-dye shirt and frayed jeans, going to grab some new Famous Amos cookies from the convenience store before cruising around with your friends listening to some Rhinestone Cowboy, then heading back home to relax and watch some Laverne and Shirley with no worries. One college young lady was not so lucky. She would never get to enjoy the simple things in life like this again, as one night she was brutally attacked and left for dead. Carol Rothstadt was a 21-year-old college senior attending Illinois State University, located in Normal, Illinois. It was winter break on campus and most of the students had gone home for the holidays. Carol had decided to stay until her shift was over on December 22, 1975, where she worked at a woman's clothing store called Hex's. Carol would finish her shift and meet some friends at the local bar for drinks. Afterwards, she and another girl walked together until they reached a spot where both would have to go separate directions to get home. Carol was living at her sorority house with fellow Delta Zeta sisters, and on December 22nd, two of the sorority sisters were home and in the house. It should be noted it is not said if the two women in the house were asleep or where they were located in the home. Walking home, Carol was excited to be going home for Christmas. Her parents were expecting her on December 23, 1975. However, she would never arrive. Between 10 and 10:15 p.m., it is believed Carol was hit over the head 3 times with a board of some sort, which cracked her skull and disrupted the blood flow of her brain. Essentially, her brain was swelling. It should be noted that articles state an 18-inch railroad tie was found next to Carol at the scene. Carol would not be found until December 23, 1975, around noon. Carol had been lying out there dying for around 12 hours before anyone found her. It was holiday break, so not a lot of people were on campus. This may have played a factor in why it took someone so long to see her lying in the yard at the sorority house. It was believed she was moved to the back or to the side of the home after she was brutally beaten. Carol was still alive and clinging to life. However, hypothermia was setting in on her hands and feet. Paramedics rushed Carol to St. Francis Hospital in Peoria, Illinois, a 45-minute drive from Normal. Who had done this to a smart, hard-working college student? Police went to work to figure out who had beaten and left Carol for dead. Carol would be rushed into the operating room where she would undergo emergency brain surgery. However, she had been so severely beaten and not found for so long that she succumbed to her injuries on December 24, 1975. Her parents, Lillian and Robert Sr., were devastated. Who could have done this to their daughter and why? Police had no motive in this case, as she was thought to have not been sexually assaulted, and her purse was found next to her with nothing missing. Police would start questioning students left on campus. They would start with the two sorority sisters. When asked if anything was unusual or they heard anything in the early morning hours of December 23rd, both said they saw nor heard anything out of the ordinary. Is it possible whoever attacked Carol came up from behind, hitting her once and immobilizing her, causing her not to be able to scream for help? Could this have happened? Absolutely, and it is probably what happened, although not confirmed. At this time, police had no real leads to go on. 3 women would come forward after reading about the murder of Carol. They would all tell police they had been sexually assaulted on campus by a man. These assaults were said to have happened in the weeks before Carol was murdered. The women said they were too afraid to come forward, but now someone had died, and they all feared the killer could be the same person who attacked them. Police followed this lead, however, it turned up nothing. Then police got a break in the case that was useful to them. An eyewitness came forward from the night Carol was attacked and said he was walking by the sorority house on his way home on the night in question. This male witness, whose name has not been released to the public for obvious reasons, said he was walking by about 10 p.m., no later than 10:15 p.m., when he saw a woman leaning forward with her arms hanging to her sides. He told police he saw 2 men with this woman. The man would say he thought it was college kids goofing off and went on his way. He had no clue he just witnessed a brutal attack on an innocent fellow classmate. The man would get a good look at one of the men. Enough a sketch was made. He would say this man appeared to be carrying a club. However, he only saw a brief bit of the second man, so he gave a description of him, but no composite sketch was made. The first man, will be pictured above, was described as a white male, standing 6 foot 2 inches, 200 pounds, with a full beard and mustache, wearing a winter coat with a prominent collar. He also had on a black toboggan. His hair was brown, and so were his eyes. He was thought to be between 18 to 25 years old. The witness did not get a great look at the second man, but he was described as a white male, 5 foot 4, significantly shorter than the first man, green eyes, weighing 180 pounds, with white hair, thought to be 25 to 35 years old, which was a bit older than the first man. This witness would state he saw all of this in front of the sorority house. This would lead police and sleuths to believe after the attack she was moved to the back of the house or to the side of the house, thus not being found for 12 hours because no one saw her lying there dying. If they had, she may have lived, if she had gotten to the hospital sooner. It should be noted some articles say there were 2 men seen on campus 2 weeks before Carol was attacked. Could these have been the same men stalking her and waiting for their opportunity to strike? This had all the students on edge. Knowing someone had harmed another student on campus and she ended up dead as a result. However, this was not the first time Carol had been attacked on campus. In 1974, she was living at the sorority house. All the sisters were asleep when someone cut the phone lines, climbed the fire escape, and went into Carol's room. It should be noted that no article stated Carol was the target of this home invasion. However, if she was, then this can lead one to believe someone was targeting her, but for what reasons? Carol woke up with a man standing over top of her with his hands around her neck. This time she was able to scream. The man would then pick her up and throw her against a wall, where she would smash her face against its hard surface. Carol would call the police, make a report, and go to the hospital, as she had a broken nose from this man throwing her. Carol would tell police it all happened so fast she could not give a description of the man. Was someone trying to murder Carol a year before her fatal attack? Could this man have been the one to attack the 3 other women that came forward after Carol's murders? Some questions in this case may forever remain unanswered. In 1977, a man with a mental illness would come forward and confess to the attack and murder of Carol. He was charged with the crime. Police, however, had absolutely no evidence against this man. The man would recant his confession and police would drop all charges against him. Why he confessed is unknown. However, police never thought this man committed the crime against Carol. The case would go cold until 2001, when the Normal Police Department would send evidence to the FBI. This would include clothing and other personal items from her purse. The FBI would say they found a fingerprint on a personal item of Carol's. The FBI would run the print through their database and against the 2 men they believed committed the crime. It was not a match to anyone. The case would once again go cold until a retired detective named George would begin to investigate the case in 2008. He was the director of Morton College Institute of Cold Cases. George would say this case is solvable and have his students begin working hard. The students would conduct over 250 interviews. they would hand over more than 50 pages of research to the Normal Police Department. George would say that they, as in he and his students, had a suspect in the murder. George said that while conducting interviews, one name kept coming up involving Carol. He would tell the media the man who kept coming up had a rich history of violence against females, and this man made believable threats against at least 8 people that he would kill them. George would not release the name as he thought it would be important to the case. George said he handed the crumbs to the police and figured they would handle the rest. However, nothing has ever come of this. Once again, the case was cold until 2017 when a student at ISU would get an assignment in his sociology class. This would take him down the rabbit hole on Carol's case. His name was James Doughty. He chose this case as it was on the same campus he was attending and found that to be interesting. James would finish his assignment and keep looking into the case, as he said he could just not stop thinking about it. James would also admit he had no idea what he was doing. He would spend hours doing research at the library and talking to people who knew more about the case. This would lead him to someone contacting him with a phone number who actually knew Carol. He decided to call this person, and he said the phone call was a bit odd and it disturbed him. James does not elaborate on this. James would say he took his findings to the police. He also said that maybe one day he would do a podcast on all the information he found out. As of this blog, no such podcast has happened, and nothing came from the information he gave police to the public's knowledge. As of 2022, Carol's case has gone cold, and they seem to no longer be investigating. Carol's killer, if still alive, has never been caught. Who did this to this thriving young woman about to graduate and start her life? Let's get justice for Carol and find out who did this. If you have any information on this case, please call the Normal Police Department at 309-454-9526 or Crime Stoppers of McLean County at 309-828-1111. Once again, if you have any information, please call the Normal Police Department at 309-454-9526 or Crime Stoppers of McLean County at 309-828-1111. Thank you again for watching, and hit that like and subscribe button so I can continue helping families of the missing, murdered, and unsolved. As always, this is the Chronikle, signing off.